Hi everyone, I'm Ananya and today we'll be following an easy process to bake bread at home. As the first step, we will be prepping the yeast. We'll take a medium-sized bowl and add 1 and 1/4 cup of warm milk to it. The milk needs to be slightly warm to the touch. We'll add 3 teaspoons sugar to it and stir it slightly so that the sugar starts dissolving in the milk. We'll then add 1.5 teaspoon of yeast to it, and we have to stir the same slightly so that the yeast mixes up with the milk and sugar. We need to then cover this mixture and let it rest for 10 to 15 minutes. Here I am using a cling wrap to cover the mixture. You may also cover it with a small cloth. Letting it rest for 10 to 15 minutes lets the yeast bloom. So the bubbles that you see here show that the yeast has perfectly bloomed. So after 10 to 15 minutes, once you remove the cover, the texture that you see here in the video shows that the yeast has perfectly bloomed. Now this yeast is perfectly ready to be used for baking. So for step 2, we will be now prepping the dough. We will add 300 grams of flour to the same yeast mixture, and to it we add 3 tablespoons of milk powder. This milk powder will help in flavoring the bread slightly. We add 3.5 teaspoons of refined oil. We then mix the dough till it comes together. At this stage, we might need to add some water to it, but be careful so that it doesn't become too sticky. We then knead the dough using the stretch and pull method. We need to knead the dough for at least 10 minutes. A proper kneading for at least 10 minutes or so develops the gluten network in the bread dough, thus transforming it from this shaggy mess that you see into a smooth, elastic and strong structure. Without enough kneading, the dough will be dense and heavy, failing to rise properly. In the initial part, the dough might stick to your hand, making it difficult to stretch and pull, but keep kneading it for some time so that the smooth structure gets developed. Now you can see that I have kneaded it for around 10-12 minutes and the smooth dough is what the end result should be. I will be using an 8-inch cross 4-inch baking pan for making the bread, and hence as the next step I will be shaping the dough so that it fits into the baking pan that I will be using and popping it later into the microwave. So now you see I'm rolling the bread dough to form the shape of the pan that I will be using. The next step that you see me doing is that I am locking, or it can be called as sealing, the ends of the bread dough. So both ends and the sides of the bread dough needs to be sealed before you pop it into the microwave. Now this is the most important step before putting it in the microwave. Why is this important? Because by sealing the ends, you tighten the outer skin of the loaf, which helps the bread hold its shape and prevents it from spreading out flat like a pancake. Now we have completed almost 80% of the process. So what we have to do next is we cover the dough and let it rest for an hour. The dough should rise to almost 2x of its size, as you can see in the video. As the final step before popping the dough into the microwave is that I brush the dough with a mixture of egg yolk and milk. Alternatively, you can just use milk to brush the bread. Now we pop the dough into the microwave at 180 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. The milk brush that we have done gives the golden color of the dough. After 20 minutes, I take the bread out of the oven and it has a beautiful golden color on the crust. So we take the bread out of the pan and I place it on a rack which will help it cool down. I brush butter over it immediately after taking it out because brushing bread with butter softens the crust and adds a rich savory flavor to the bread. It also creates an appealing and glossy finish. So here you go, you have your homemade bread ready.